Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be going over 9 signs God has called you to be a leader. All right, so maybe back, in your distant past, you may have been a person who was doing certain things, acting a certain way that wasn't really in alignment with your true self or in alignment with your true will. But now, since you have transitioned over, since you have changed as a person, when God has called you to be a leader, you start developing leadership qualities. You start having that voice, that inner voice. You start speaking your inner truth. You start speaking more about positivity and love and the knowledge that God wants you to bring forth out into your life. All right. So these are the signs that you should be expecting, or you might experience when God has called you to be a leader. All right. So let's not waste any time and let's go ahead and get started. So the first sign that God has called you to be a leader is you start to seek truth. Now, you may be, at some point in your life, there may be a time or a transition in your life, a transition in a certain time period in your life where you start to seek more truth. You've been curious, during a point in your life, you might have been curious about a certain topic or a certain area. It could be, within the nutrition, fitness, all the lies that we've been told in regards to nutrition and health and things of that nature. It might have been in regards to religion or certain, religion like Christianity and things like that. It might be towards, something in regards to AI or technology. It could be something, that intrigues you, that sparks something in your mind, and you just want to go down this deep rabbit hole of, knowledge and, information on a certain topic. Or it could be, something within the universe, outer space, astronomy, astrology. You just want to go into this deep rabbit hole of truth. You want to find more about the truth. You want to get as close to the truth as possible. You become a sponge for knowledge. You become a sponge for wisdom. You become a sponge for, the deep innermost mysteries of the world or the universe and things of that nature. So when God has called you to be a leader, you start to seek more truth. You start to seek more information about not only yourself, but the world around you, the people, the mysteries of the world and things like that. So you start to become a sponge for knowledge, and you just want to seek more truth in your life. So the next sign that God has called you to be a leader, you start developing new interests and habits. So I know within my life, in the past, I was into certain things. I was into, things such as, basketball. I was into video games, all these different things. But ever since God has called me to be a leader, ever since God has put this, this powerful force within myself, I was able to discover my higher self, and I was able to develop that third chakra, that throat chakra. I became more interested in different things, different, interests and habits and, hobbies and things of that nature. I just became a totally different person. I became so, I became a student. I want to become more of a student. I want to learn as much as I can. I want to, help as many people as I can. My ultimate goal in life, before I die, I want to become an ascended master. I've always wanted to become, well, not always, but now since God has called me to be a leader, and God has put all this information, put all this, wisdom and encouragement and strength and bravery into my life, my ultimate goal is to become an ascended master, like Yeshua or, the Buddha, that Christ consciousness. So that's why I'm always, in the lab with my life every single day, taking care of myself from within, spiritually, mentally, physically, because I want to become an ascended master at the end of my life. So a sign that God has called you to be a leader, you start developing new interests and new, habits. You let go of all the other distracting things that you used to do in your life. You may do those things now every once in a while, but that's not your main priority. Like me, video games, basketball, That was my main priority. I was, on the game, playing video games, playing basketball, doing all these different things. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but when you put that as your main priority and you start to become, sort of addicted to these things, then that's when it becomes a problem. So a sign that God has called you to be a leader, you start developing more interests and habits and activities that are more in alignment with yourself, and it's going to help better yourself overall in the long run. So the third sign that God has called you to be a leader, you have that voice to spread God's message, love, and knowledge. So I mentioned this a little bit in the second sign. I developed that inner voice. I started developing that courage to want to speak my inner truth. I wanted to speak my truth. I wanted to speak about love. I want to speak more about love and knowledge, because that's what God ultimately is. God is love and God is knowledge. All right. So back in the past, before I started doing these YouTube videos and speaking my mind, I was never really a vocal person. The idea of me just speaking in front of this camera, making these videos, it was just foreign to me, because I never pictured myself doing this. I never in my entire life pictured myself teaching people, spreading knowledge, making people feel good, inspiring people, helping people reach their higher self. I never imagined myself doing this, but I gained the bravery, the strength, of the Holy Spirit of my higher self to want to portray these videos, portray these messages to help as many people as I can. Because I was very insecure in myself. I didn't like my voice. I didn't like the way my voice sounded. I just couldn't picture myself, doing these videos and speaking out and being vocal, because I was quiet my whole life. I've always been an introvert. I've always been quiet. Never liked public speaking. Never liked to speak in front of people. Things of that nature, because it made me all nervous and anxiety. Just the thought of speaking in front of people just gave me a whole bunch of anxiety. But now I gained the bravery. I could care less what people think about me now. I'm just here to do God's mission, and that's to spread knowledge and to spread love everywhere I go. Not only on YouTube, but in real life as well. All right. So another sign that God has called you to be a leader, you start to gain that voice. You start to have that inner voice, and you want to speak your truth on whatever topic that you're interested in. It could be, holistic healing, wellness, technology, spirituality. It could be anything. All of humanity, we need help in many different aspects of life. That's how vast and how big the world is, because we could experience everything. We could dive deep into anything in this world. That's how vast and big the world is, and we need help in every regard, that the earth upholds. All right. So that's another sign that God has called you to be a leader. So the next sign that God has called you to be a leader, you have a passion for helping other people reach their higher self. Now, for me, I've always realized that I've enjoyed helping people. I've always liked, inspiring people and helping people, uplifting people. Before I start doing these YouTube videos, I've analyzed, how this became my purpose in life. Back when I was on social media, just little things like, I would post motivational videos that I would find on Instagram or Twitter, or, a motivational post, motivational messages that are all about love and, spreading, knowledge, just uplifting people, just motivating people. I've realized I've enjoyed doing that. So now I came to the conclusion that I should start making YouTube videos to, speak my truths, to help as many people as I can, to, spark something in somebody's mind, to, put that message inside someone's heart, put that message in someone's mind, creating that spark, waking that person up to their true individuality, and waking that person up to their true nature and their true calling. All right. So I believe it's important for us to, when we're interacting with other people, when we're talking with other people, we need to always have in the back of our minds too, if someone's going through a rough time or if someone's going through a bad day, even if they're not going through a bad day, always try to make that person's day. Always try to make, the other person happy. Give someone a compliment, or, give someone a pointer, if somebody asks a question, or, somebody's going through something, give them some pointers, give them some advice, give them some help. You need to always make people's day. Whenever you're going out in public, whenever you're out in public, always try to make somebody's day. All right, because not only does it make them feel good, but it makes you feel good as well. All right. So another sign that God has called you to be a leader, you have a passion for helping other people. You have a passion, you have the love, you have the desire. You just have a big heart. You have a big heart about yourself. You just want to uplift people and to, raise the vibration of the planet and to help someone and help other people see the potential in them. All right. So another sign that God has called you to be a leader, you are willing to get rid of old and bad habits. Now, we've all gone through this. We've all had, destructive habits. We've all done things. We all made certain decisions that was, hurting us in the long run. That wasn't helping us in any way. That was blocking our vision of becoming our fully capable selves, basically. So when God has called you to be a leader, when God is, transform your life, He's getting rid of all the distractions. He's getting rid of all the things that are, not in alignment with yourself, that are in the way. All right. God gets rid of everything, anything and everything that is not in alignment with your will, that is not in alignment with your purpose, and that's going to distract you from reaching your higher self and to reaching your purpose. All right. So when God has called you to be a leader, you start to, clear out everything, just everything that doesn't, belong in your life. And you start seeing, different people in your life, different, circumstances. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. Everything's starting to unfold, and you start to experience, a different life, a new transition in your life. All right. So God has called you to be a leader. You start getting rid of old habits, old destructive habits and thought patterns and things like that. And you start to transition and transform and step into a new life, into a new chapter in your life. So another sign that God has called you to be a leader, you are willing to give up your own personal needs to serve your purpose. Now this kind of correlates with willing to get rid of your old and bad habits. You're willing to give up your own personal greed, your own personal desires. You're basically willing to give up the world just to serve your purpose. Or we get so lost in this world. This world is full of distractions. This world is full of temptations and things of that nature, that we start to, we start to drown ourselves. We start to become more blind. We start to become blinded by everything that this world tries to portray to us. This everything, everything out in the outside world, we're being, everything's being shoved down our throats, everything's being shoved in our faces, and we just can't see past the illusion of everything that's going on in this world. But now, since God has called you to be a leader, you start to see that vision. You start to have that big vision in life. All right, you start to have that, you see that TV screen, that big wide TV screen. And you start to see everything that's about to unfold in your life. You start to see all the good things that are going to happen in your life, right? So when God has called you to be a leader, you're willing to give up your own personal desires, your own personal greed. You're willing to let go of that ego. You're willing to let go of anything and everything that doesn't represent your true self, that doesn't represent your true heart and your true nature. And you just want to serve your purpose. You want to be in the lab with your life. You want to be in that flow state. It's always working on your craft, working on your purpose, working on everything that God has planned for your life. All right. So next sign that God has called you to be a leader, you develop leadership traits. Now, the leadership traits, you start to become, like I mentioned earlier, you start to become more vocal. You start to have that voice wanting to spread that knowledge, wanting to spread that love. You start to become more confident in yourself. When you become a leader, when God has called you to be a leader, you might have been, insecure about yourself. Like with me, for example, I was so insecure about my voice. I did not want to, speak in front of people, speak in front of a camera. But now you have that inner voice, and you have that, that grit. You have that confidence about yourself. You just have, that persona. You just have that look. You just have that, that stance about yourself. You start to, look like a leader. You start to feel like a leader. You start to smell like a leader. You start to look like all these different things, the different traits of becoming a leader. All right. So you start developing, leadership qualities about yourself. People are inspired by you. People want to listen to you. People are intrigued by you. People want to, do similar things, but create things in their own way, right? They start to draw inspiration from you. So when God has called you to be a leader, you start developing leadership traits about yourself. Excuse me. So the next sign that God has called you to be a leader, you discover your gifts. Now you discover your gifts. You might be, a good speaker. You might be, a good holistic healer. You might be gifted when it comes to your mind. You might be able to solve complicated mathematical problems, scientific problems. You might have the gift of discernment. You might have the gift of predicting things into the future. You start discovering your inner gifts and your inner talents, and you're able to use these gifts and use these talents to help others. All right. So it's important for you to use these gifts and to use these talents in order to help yourself, not only to help yourself, but to help other people. But it gets bad, you start steering in the wrong direction, when you start overindulging in these gifts, when you start overindulging in these talents, and you start using them for your own personal, motive or your own personal agenda. That's when you start abusing your powers, and that's when you start abusing your gifts that God has given you. So we need to have that right frame of mind and to have that right mindset to not abuse these gifts, to not abuse these powers, but to transform yourself by utilizing these gifts and utilizing these talents to help yourself and to help other people. And that's the main goal, and that's the main objective when it comes to these gifts and talents. All right. So another sign that God has called you to be a leader, you start discovering your inner gifts and your inner talents, and you use these gifts and you use these talents to help others. And last but not least, the last sign that God has called you to be a leader, you remain in faith despite hardships. Now, every single one of us, I know everybody's lives is not perfect. It could portray like that, especially on social media. You see some, couple, or you see some individual, their life may seem perfect, may seem, like this fairy tale story of, they never go through hard times, they never go through struggles and things like that. Especially if you see like a couple or something, they always look happy in the pictures and stuff like that. But I know that's not realistic. So every single one of us, every single human being on the planet, including myself, we all go through hardships. We all go through troubled times, tough times. We all go through, we do things that, our true selves wouldn't make. We make certain decisions that our true selves wouldn't make. We start to fall under these temptations, things of that nature. But even though we go through these hard times, even though we go through these hardships, we still remain in faith. We still stay 10 toes down. We still stay confident. We still stay poised. And all the chaos that we go through, all the, the troubled times, the chaos that we experience, that we see, in our day-to-day lives or on the news and things like that, every day may be a struggle. But the difference between us, people that God has called us to be a leader, including you, we stay 10 toes down. We know we have that faith. We have that strong faith in not only ourselves, but the Creator, the Most High, the divine spark, the divine source. The universe is behind us. The ancestors, the angels, God Himself. we all know that the universe is always behind us and the universe is always with us. Right? When we have that in the back of our mind, when we repeat that, we say that in the back of our mind every single day, remind ourselves that God is always by our side. God will never lead us astray. The universe is always with us no matter what. Love always wins. Love is, the universal language. Love is the language of the universe. And when we stick by love and we preach love and give love, nothing can steer us away. When we have that internal peace, when we have that internal confidence about ourselves, nothing in this world can steer us away. Nothing in this world can, deter us from, reaching our full potential and reaching our goals and reaching our dreams and things of that nature. All right, so when God has called you to be a leader, you have that strong presence, that strong inner presence about yourself, and you don't let little things, of this world, little, problems, because your problems are this small compared to the vast majority of the universe. All right, I always got to remind myself of that as well. My problems mean nothing. My problems mean nothing in this world. My problems are not as big as God Almighty, as big as the universe. So when God has called you to be a leader, you remain in faith despite anything that you're going through in life, because it too shall pass. It will cease to pass. All right? Always remind yourself of that. All right, guys, so let's recap today's video. These are 9 signs God has called you to be a leader. So the first sign, you start to seek truth. You start developing new interests and habits. You have that voice to spread God's message, which is love and knowledge. You have a passion for helping other people reach their higher self. Willing to get rid of old and bad habits. Willing to give up your own personal needs to serve your purpose. You develop leadership traits. You discover your gifts. And you remain in faith despite hardships. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. If you, start discovering your true self, and you start, becoming the best version of yourself every single day, and you believe that God has called you to be a leader, hopefully these signs will give you confirmation to help you out, give you some encouragement, give you some inspiration, because that's all I'm trying to do in my videos, man. I'm trying to uplift as many people as I can, wake as many people up as I can to the true nature, because too many people are asleep in this world. I was included in that category as well. Too many people are asleep in this world, not living up to their expectations, not realizing their true potential and their true selves. So hopefully I wake that inner God inside you, wake up that inner spark inside of you, to motivate you to become the best version of yourself as possible. All right, so always keep working, always keep grinding. Whatever you're doing, do not stop and do not give up. All right, so till next time, and always remember, excuse me, all power resides from within. Always keep the faith, because God and the universe is always working for you. Take care, guys, and God bless.